I found out 3 weeks ago that my boyfriend Hayes has been paying people to hit on me. Not once, not twice, for 2 years. His friends, random guys at bars, dudes sliding into my DMs that I thought were just thirsty strangers. All of them were working for him, testing me. And he's been recording my responses and watching them back with his buddies like it's Monday Night Football. I'm gonna try to explain this without completely losing it, but honestly, I've been a mess since this all came out and I still don't know what was real about the last 2 years of my life. Hayes and I met at a friend's birthday party in Louisville back in early 2023. My friend Stacy was turning 27 and she rented out the back room of this little bar downtown. Hayes came with one of Stacy's coworkers and we ended up talking for like 3 hours straight. He was funny and a little awkward in a cute way, and he had this thing where he'd remember random details about stuff I mentioned. Like I'd say something about loving breakfast food, and 2 weeks later he'd text me a picture of waffles he made with this elaborate fruit situation on top. The first few months were great. He was attentive, remembered my mom's name, asked about my sister Flora's wedding plans, brought me soup when I was sick. All the stuff that makes you think, okay, maybe this one's different. We made it official around May 2023 and things moved fast after that. By that fall, we were basically living together at his place, splitting time between his apartment and mine, but mostly staying at his because he had a bigger kitchen and I like to cook. Looking back, I can pinpoint exactly when the weird stuff started, but at the time I didn't think anything of it. It was maybe 6 months in, right around the holidays. We were at this sports bar watching a game with some of his friends. Hayes went to the bathroom and one of his boys, this guy Wade, started getting really flirty with me. Like really flirty. Commenting on my outfit, asking if I worked out, saying Hayes was lucky to have someone so pretty. I laughed it off and changed the subject because what else do you do when your boyfriend's friend is being weird? When Hayes came back, I told him later that Wade was being a little much and Hayes just kind of shrugged and said Wade was like that with everyone. I should have thought about why Hayes didn't seem bothered at all. Like if my boyfriend's friend was hitting on me, I'd expect some reaction. But I just figured Hayes was secure in our relationship and didn't see Wade as a threat. Then it happened again. Different friend, different setting. We were at Hayes' apartment for a small get-together, and his friend Carl cornered me in the kitchen while I was getting a drink. Started asking if I was happy with Hayes, if I ever thought about being with someone else, if I found him attractive. I shut that down fast, told him I was with Hayes and I wasn't interested and walked away. I told Hayes about that one too, and he got this weird look on his face that I couldn't read. He said Carl was going through a rough time and probably just needed validation. I remember thinking that was a strange response, but I let it go because I didn't want to cause drama in his friend group. The thing is, these situations kept happening. Not constantly, but enough that I started wondering if something was wrong with me. Like, was I giving off signals I didn't know about? Was I being too friendly? I actually started changing how I acted around Hayes' friends because I didn't want anyone to get the wrong idea. There was this one night at a bar downtown, maybe 8 months into our relationship. Hayes had gone to get us drinks and this guy sat down next to me. Good-looking, confident, the type who probably does well with women. He started chatting me up, asked if I was there alone, offered to buy me a drink. I told him I was with my boyfriend and he kept pushing, saying my boyfriend was dumb to leave me alone, asking for my number just in case things didn't work out. I was so uncomfortable. I kept looking toward the bar trying to catch Hayes' eye, but he was turned away from me talking to the bartender. Finally, I just told the guy I wasn't interested and moved to a different table. When Hayes came back, I told him what happened and he seemed concerned but also almost satisfied. That's the only word I can think of. Like he'd just gotten good news. I know how that sounds now, but at the time I just thought he was relieved I handled it well. The DM started around our 1-year anniversary. Random accounts would message me on Instagram with increasingly forward stuff. Hey beautiful, you're too pretty to be with just one guy. Your boyfriend doesn't deserve you. Some were subtle and some were straight up explicit. I blocked most of them and mentioned the worst ones to Hayes. He always said the same thing, that social media was full of creeps and I should just ignore them. But here's what kills me. Some of those messages came from accounts that had suspicious timing. Like I'd post a picture at dinner with Hayes and within hours I'd get a message from some random guy. Or I'd post a selfie and suddenly 3 different accounts were in my DMs. I never connected the dots because why would I? Then there was the gym thing. I started going to this gym near Hayes' apartment and suddenly there was this guy, Dennis, who kept showing up at the same time as me. He was nice at first, just small talk about workouts and whatever. But over time he started getting personal, asking about my relationship, telling me his friend thought I was cute, eventually straight up asking if I'd ever consider dating someone else. I told Hayes about Dennis and he suggested I switch gyms, but he never seemed angry or jealous. Just calm, practical. The online stuff got worse too. I'm on a couple dating-adjacent apps that I use to find friends since I moved to Louisville and don't know many people here. Like Bumble BFF and stuff. Random guys started matching with me on regular Bumble even though I never activated that part of my profile. When I tell them I had a boyfriend, they'd still push, asking if I was sure, telling me they could treat me better. I started to think something was genuinely wrong with me. Like, did I have a sign on my forehead that said hit on me? I talked to Stacy about it and she said some women just attract more attention and not to worry about it. I talked to my sister Flora and she said the same thing. Everyone had a reasonable explanation for why I was suddenly catnip for every thirsty man in Kentucky. The whole time Hayes was being the perfect boyfriend. Supportive when I complained about the unwanted attention. Protective when I felt uncomfortable. Understanding when I wanted to stay in instead of going out because I was tired of dealing with guys approaching me. Do you see how messed up that is? He was creating the problem and then being my hero for helping me deal with it. I should tell you about the trip to Nashville because that's when things escalated in a way I didn't understand until recently. We went for a long weekend, stayed at this nice hotel downtown. Hayes said he had to take a work call the first night, so I went down to the hotel bar alone. Within 15 minutes, I had 2 guys trying to buy me drinks and a third asking if I wanted to dance. I was so overwhelmed I texted Hayes to come get me, and we went back to the room. He was so sweet about it. Held me while I told him how exhausting it was to constantly be approached. Told me he loved that I always turned them down and came back to him. Meanwhile, he was literally paying the guys who had just harassed me. I want to scream just writing that. After Nashville, the tests got more elaborate. There was a guy named Enrique who started working at the same place as me. Super friendly, always finding excuses to talk to me, eventually asking if I wanted to grab lunch sometime, just the 2 of us. I told him I had a boyfriend and he backed off but kept being flirty in small ways, complimenting my hair, bringing me coffee, remembering random things I mentioned. I told Hayes about Enrique and he said it sounded like Enrique had a crush, but as long as I wasn't encouraging it, there was nothing to worry about. So I kept working with this guy who was apparently on my boyfriend's payroll the whole time. The thing that finally blew this all up was Hayes' friend Billy. Billy has been in Hayes' friend group since college, and I've always thought he was a decent guy. A little quiet, kind of stays in the background at group things, but nice enough. He came over to our place a few weeks ago when Hayes was supposed to be home but got stuck at work. Billy and I were just hanging out, watching TV, nothing weird. Then Billy got really quiet and told me he needed to tell me something, but I couldn't let Hayes know he told me. I figured he was about to confess feelings or something, and I was already preparing my whole, "I'm flattered, but I'm with Hayes" speech. Instead, Billy told me that Hayes has been orchestrating tests on my loyalty for the entire time we've been together. I actually laughed at first because what? That's insane. Who does that? But Billy kept talking. He told me about the sports bar incident with Wade, that Hayes had asked Wade to hit on me and see how I responded. He told me about Carl in the kitchen. Same thing. He told me about the random guys at bars, the DMs, the guys at both gyms, the Nashville situation, Enrique at my job, all of it. Every single time I thought I was being randomly approached by some interested guy, it was someone Hayes had either directly asked or literally paid to test me. I sat there for probably 10 minutes not saying anything because my brain couldn't process what I was hearing. Billy told me he'd been part of it at first. Hayes had asked him to flirt with me early on, but Billy felt too weird about it and backed out. But he's watched Hayes recruit other people. He's watched Hayes pay cash to strangers at bars to approach me. He's watched Hayes show the other guys videos of me rejecting these advances like it's some kind of highlight reel. The videos. Hayes has been recording me, not himself but through the guys he sends. They film my responses on their phones and send the footage to Hayes. And Hayes watches these videos, shares them with his friends, comments on how I handled each situation, rates my loyalty on some scale only he understands. Billy said he couldn't take it anymore. He said watching me at their gatherings, being sweet and trusting and completely unaware that everyone in the room knew about the tests, made him feel sick. He said I deserved to know the truth. I asked Billy how many people knew about this. He said all of Hayes' close friends, Wade, Carl, a few others. They've all been part of it or watched it happen. They've all seen the videos. I asked why. Why would Hayes do this? Billy said Hayes had a girlfriend before me who cheated on him and it messed him up. He said Hayes told everyone he needed to know I was trustworthy before he could fully commit. He said Hayes genuinely believes this is a reasonable thing to do, that testing me is how he protects himself, that watching me pass the tests is what allows him to love me. I wanted to throw up. Hayes came home about an hour after Billy left. He walked in all normal, kissed me hello, asked what I wanted for dinner, and I just looked at him trying to figure out who this person actually was. I didn't confront him that night. I needed to think. I needed to process. I needed to figure out what was even real about the last 2 years. I spent 3 days pretending everything was fine while my entire reality fell apart. I went over every memory looking for signs. Every time a guy approached me. Every time I felt uncomfortable. Every time I came home to Hayes grateful that I had someone who wasn't jealous or controlling. He wasn't not jealous. He was the one sending them. On the 3rd day, I couldn't take it anymore. Hayes was making breakfast and talking about some show he wanted us to watch, and I just said it. I asked him about the tests. His face went completely blank for about 3 seconds, and then he asked what I was talking about. I told him I knew. About Wade and Carl and the guys at bars and the DMs and the gyms and Nashville and Enrique and all of it. I told him I knew about the videos. I told him I knew his friends all knew. Hayes put down the spatula and just stood there looking at me, and then he asked who told me. Not denial, not confusion, not what are you talking about. His first response was wanting to know who broke his secret. I told him it didn't matter who told me. What mattered was that he'd been running some kind of twisted loyalty experiment on me for 2 years. And here's the part that still makes me feel insane. Hayes didn't apologize. He didn't act ashamed. He tried to explain. He told me I didn't understand how much he'd been hurt before. He told me his ex had made him feel like he couldn't trust anyone. He told me the tests were the only way he could feel safe. He told me every time I passed a test, it made him love me more. He told me he was going to stop once we got engaged because by then he would know for sure. I asked him if he hurt himself, if he understood how insane that sounded. He got frustrated with me. He said I was making a big deal out of nothing. He said he never hurt me. He said he was just making sure I was who I said I was. He said most guys would love to have a girlfriend who proved her loyalty so many times. I asked about the videos, the footage of me being approached by strangers that he recorded and shared with his friends. He said that was just proof, evidence that the tests worked. He said he was proud of how I handled myself and wanted to show the guys that his girlfriend was loyal. Like I was a dog doing tricks. Like my discomfort was entertainment. Like my violation of privacy was something to be proud of. I asked how many videos there were. He said he didn't know exactly, maybe 30 or 40, spanning the whole relationship, different bars, different scenarios, different guys testing me in different ways. I asked where the videos were now. He got cagey and said they were on his phone and his laptop. When I asked to see them, he said no. He said they were private. Private. Videos of me without my consent that he's shown to all his friends are private. I told him I needed space to think. He said fine, but he didn't think I was being fair. He said he did this because he loved me. He said if I really understood what he went through with his ex, I would get why he needed to do this. I've been staying at Stacy's for over a week now. Hayes keeps texting me saying we need to talk in person. That if I would just let him explain properly, I would understand. He says our whole relationship was built on trust, and me leaving proves I didn't trust him as much as he trusted me. Stacy thinks I should never speak to him again. My sister Flora thinks I need to at least hear him out because 2 years is a long time to throw away. My mom doesn't know the full story because how do you even explain this? I don't know what to do. Billy texted me yesterday to ask if I was okay. He said Hayes knows someone told me and he's been trying to figure out who. He said I should be careful because Hayes has all their friends on his side and they're closing ranks. What does that even mean? What else is there to find out? How much deeper does this go? And the worst thought I can't shake is this. What would have happened if I'd failed one? What if some random guy had caught me on a bad day? What if I'd been too friendly or too slow to shut something down? Would Hayes have used that as permission to leave me? Would he have shown those videos to everyone as proof that women can't be trusted? I feel like I was a lab rat in some experiment I never agreed to participate in. I'm meeting Hayes tomorrow to talk. He says he wants to clear the air and help me understand. I don't know what I'm hoping to hear, but I need something. Some explanation that makes this make sense. Some version of events where the person I love isn't a complete stranger. But I'm starting to think that person never existed. I think the real Hayes has been watching me from behind a camera lens this whole time, grading my performance, deciding if I was worthy. I'll update after I talk to him. Update. Okay, so I met with Hayes and I have a lot to tell you guys. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. I read every single one even if I didn't respond to all of them. A lot of you told me not to meet with him alone and I listened. Stacy came with me and waited in her car in the parking lot. She had my location shared and I told her if I didn't text her every 30 minutes to come inside. Some of you said I was dumb for even giving him a chance to explain. Maybe you're right. But I needed to look him in the face and understand what the hell happened to my life for the last 2 years. I needed answers even if they hurt. We met at this diner near my old apartment. The one I gave up when I basically moved in with him. Neutral territory. Public place. I got there early and picked a booth where I could see the door. Hayes walked in looking completely normal. That's what got me. He wasn't nervous or guilty or any of the things you'd expect from someone who just got caught running a 2-year manipulation scheme on their girlfriend. He slid into the booth across from me and immediately reached for my hands like we were there to work through a small argument. I pulled back and told him to start talking. He launched into this whole thing about how I needed to understand where he was coming from, how his ex Rosalie had destroyed his ability to trust, how she'd cheated on him for months with someone he considered a friend and he'd had no idea, how finding out had broken something in him that he didn't know how to fix. I told him that was awful, and I was sorry that happened to him, but it didn't explain why he turned our relationship into some kind of sick game show. He got this look on his face like I was being deliberately obtuse, like I was refusing to understand something obvious. He told me it wasn't a game show. It was protection. It was the only way he could feel safe enough to love someone again. He said every time I passed a test, it proved he could trust me a little more. He said he was building evidence that I was different from Rosalie, that I was worth the risk. I asked him if he heard how insane that sounded. Building evidence. Like I was a case he was investigating instead of a person he was supposed to love. He said I was twisting his words. He said I was making him sound like a monster when all he was trying to do was protect his heart. He said most women would be flattered that their boyfriend cared enough to make sure they were loyal. Flattered. I swear to God I almost walked out right there. But I stayed because I needed more. I needed to understand the full scope of what he'd done. I asked him to tell me every single test. All of them. From the beginning. Hayes actually seemed relieved that I was asking. Like finally I was taking an interest in his project. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling through something and I realized he had notes. Actual notes documenting every test he'd ever run on me. The first one was Wade at the sports bar. He'd asked Wade to compliment me and see how I responded. Wade reported back that I was polite but uninterested and redirected the conversation quickly. Hayes marked that as a pass. The second was Carl in the kitchen at that party. Carl was supposed to push harder, ask more direct questions about whether I was happy with Hayes. When I shut him down firmly, Hayes marked that as a strong pass. Then he went through the strangers at bars. He said he started with guys he knew through work or friends of friends. He'd offer them $50 to approach me while he watched from somewhere nearby. After a few of those, he started hiring actual strangers because he worried the guys he knew might go easy on me. I asked him how he hired actual strangers to harass his girlfriend. He said he would find guys at bars or clubs who looked confident and charming. He'd approach them, explain the situation, offer them cash to try their best shot at getting my number or getting me to flirt back. Most guys thought it was funny. Some thought he was crazy but took the money anyway. I sat there listening to my boyfriend describe soliciting random men to sexually harass me like he was explaining a hobby. The DMs were next. Hayes said he created fake Instagram accounts and also paid a few of his friends to message me from their real accounts. He wanted to test how I handled online attention versus in-person attention. He said I was more dismissive online, which he found interesting. I asked about Enrique, the guy at my work. Hayes got quiet for a second and then admitted that Enrique was his cousin. His cousin, who he'd asked to get a job at my workplace specifically to test me in a professional setting. He wanted to see if I'd behave differently when the attention came from someone I had to see every day. I cannot describe to you how violated I felt in that moment. This wasn't just random guys at bars. He'd planted someone in my workplace. Someone I talked to every day. Someone who probably reported back to Hayes every single interaction we had. I asked what else Enrique told him. Hayes said Enrique gave him updates about who I ate lunch with, what I talked about with coworkers, whether I mentioned Hayes in conversation. He said it helped him feel connected to my life when he couldn't be there. I told him that was stalking. He'd stalked me through his own cousin. He said I was being dramatic. He said he just wanted to know I was being faithful at work, like I was being faithful everywhere else. He said he would have done it himself if he could, but since he couldn't have eyes on me at all times, he needed someone trustworthy. Trustworthy. His cousin spying on me was trustworthy. I asked about the videos again. I told him I wanted to see them. He said no. He said they were private and he wasn't comfortable showing them to me. Private. Videos of me filmed without my consent that he's shown to God knows how many people are private from me. I told him I wasn't leaving until I saw at least some of them. I told him if he wanted any chance of salvaging this relationship, he needed to show me exactly what he'd been collecting. He stared at me for a long time like he was trying to decide something. Then he unlocked his phone and turned it toward me. The first video was from a bar I recognized. I was sitting alone waiting for Hayes to come back from somewhere and a guy approached me. I watched myself smile politely and shake my head. The guy kept talking. I watched myself look increasingly uncomfortable. Finally, I watched myself say something firm and the guy walked away. Hayes pointed at the screen and told me to look at how I handled that. Look at how clear I was. Look at how I didn't lead him on or play games. He said this video was one of his favorites because it showed how direct I could be. I felt sick watching myself on that screen, watching a moment I remembered as stressful and uncomfortable being replayed like a highlight reel. He showed me another one, and another. Different bars, different guys, different versions of me being approached by strangers while my boyfriend watched and recorded. In some of them, I could see myself looking around for Hayes, trying to find him, not knowing he was the one who sent these people. I asked who else had seen these videos. He said just his close friends, Wade and Carl and a few others. He said they helped him analyze the footage and decide if I'd passed or failed. Analyze the footage, like I was game tape. I asked what happened when someone failed a test. Hayes said I never failed, so it wasn't relevant. I asked again, what would have happened if I'd failed? He got uncomfortable and said he didn't want to talk about hypotheticals. He said what mattered was that I'd proven myself over and over. He said I should be proud of how loyal I'd been. I told him I wanted to know what would have happened. What his plan was if one of these random men he paid had succeeded in getting my number, or getting me to flirt back. He finally admitted that he would have ended things. He said he would have shown the video to his friends as proof that women couldn't be trusted. He said he would have used it as evidence that his instincts about people were right. So my entire relationship had been conditional on passing tests I didn't know I was taking. 2 years of my life were one bad interaction away from being thrown in the trash because my boyfriend couldn't deal with his trust issues like a normal person. I asked him if he planned to ever tell me about this. He said no. He said if we'd gotten married, the test would have stopped and I never would have known. He said he was planning to propose next year once he felt fully confident. I asked how many tests it would have taken for him to feel confident. He said he didn't know. He said he figured he would just know when it felt right. So there was no end goal, no finish line. I could have been married to this man still being tested and never knowing. I told him I was done. I told him what he'd done was a complete violation of my trust and my privacy and my autonomy. I told him he turned our relationship into a surveillance operation. And I couldn't be with someone who saw me as a subject to be studied instead of a partner to be loved. That's when things got ugly. Hayes started accusing me of betrayal. He said I was the one who wasn't trustworthy because I couldn't handle knowing how much he loved me. He said a real partner would understand that he did this out of fear of being hurt again. He said I was proving that women leave the second things get hard. I told him this wasn't hard, this was abuse. He'd been emotionally manipulating me for 2 years and recording it for entertainment. He lost it when I used the word abuse. He started talking louder and people were looking. He said I had no idea what abuse was. He said he'd never laid a hand on me, never controlled who I saw or where I went, never done anything but love me and try to protect himself. He said calling him abusive was exactly the kind of overreaction he'd been worried about. I told him he did control where I went. He controlled it by making certain places unbearable for me. Every bar became a place where I got harassed. Every gym became a place where men wouldn't leave me alone. He'd manufactured a world where I was constantly uncomfortable unless I was with him. He actually paused at that, like it hadn't occurred to him that his tests had side effects. I told him I'd spent months thinking something was wrong with me, wondering why I attracted so much unwanted attention, feeling guilty for being friendly in case I was somehow inviting it. I told him I'd changed my behavior, my clothing, my entire way of interacting with the world because of situations he created. He said he didn't mean for that to happen. He said the tests were supposed to be simple and isolated. He didn't realize they were affecting my mental state. I asked how he could be that dense, how he could watch his girlfriend become increasingly anxious about male attention and not connect it to the fact that he was literally paying men to give her unwanted attention. He said he thought I was just sensitive. He said he figured some women got hit on more than others and I was one of them. He said it never occurred to him that his tests were the reason. I asked if he was serious, if he really hadn't made that connection. He said he was focused on the results, not the process. He was looking at whether I passed or failed, not at how the tests were affecting my daily life. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to make him understand what it felt like to be hunted by strangers in your own city while your boyfriend watched and took notes. Instead, I told him we were done. I told him to delete every video and never contact me again. He grabbed my wrist when I started to stand up. He told me I couldn't just walk away from 2 years like it meant nothing. He told me he loved me and this was all because he loved me. He told me if I left now I'd be proving that everything he feared about women was true. I pulled my arm away and told him that was his problem, not mine. I told him he needed therapy, not a girlfriend. I told him if he contacted me again I would consider it harassment. I walked out and got in Stacy's car and completely fell apart. That was 5 days ago. Since then, Hayes has texted me 32 times. I counted. Some of them are apologies, some of them are accusations, some of them are long rambling explanations of why he did what he did and why I should understand. Some of them are angry rants about how I'm abandoning him, just like Rosalie did. I haven't responded to any of them. Billy texted me to tell me Hayes knows someone told me, and he's trying to figure out who. Apparently, Hayes has been interrogating all his friends trying to find the leak. Billy is scared he's going to be outed and lose his entire friend group. Here's what's really messing with me, though. I told my sister Flora everything, the whole story. She listened, and then she said something that's been eating at me ever since. She asked if Hayes ever actually hurt me during the relationship. She pointed out that before I knew about the tests, I was happy. She said maybe his methods were messed up, but the result was that I felt loved and secure. She asked if the damage was in what he did, or in knowing about it. I don't know how to answer that. I was happy before I knew. I felt safe. I felt loved. I thought I had a good relationship with a good man. But that happiness was built on lies. That safety was manufactured by the same person making me unsafe. That love was conditional on me performing well in tests I didn't know I was taking. Does it matter that I didn't know? Does ignorance make the manipulation less real? My mom finally got the full story from Flora and she's furious. Not at Hayes. At me. She thinks I'm throwing away a good relationship because of something that technically didn't affect me until I found out about it. She keeps saying men have trust issues, and at least Hayes dealt with his in a way that didn't hurt me directly. She asked what I would have preferred. A jealous boyfriend who controlled my every move, or one who quietly verified my loyalty without me knowing. Neither, Mom. I would have preferred a normal boyfriend who doesn't run surveillance operations on his girlfriend. But her reaction is making me question myself. Am I overreacting? Hayes never hit me. He never screamed at me. He never told me who I could see or where I could go. He just quietly watched me from behind the scenes like some kind of puppet master, making sure I danced the way he wanted. Is that abuse? Or is it just extreme insecurity? Where's the line? Stacy is the only one who's fully on my side. She keeps reminding me that consent matters, that I never agreed to be filmed, that I never agreed to be tested, that the violation is in taking away my ability to make informed choices about my own relationship. But even she asked if I was sure I wanted to end things completely. She said Hayes obviously loves me in his own messed up way. She said maybe with therapy he could be different. I don't want to be someone's rehabilitation project. I don't want to wait around while he learns how to love me like a normal human being. I spent 2 years proving myself to him. Now he wants me to wait while he proves he can be better. Why is that my job? Billy texted me again this morning. He said Hayes finally figured out it was him. Someone saw us together at the apartment that day and told Hayes. Billy said Hayes called him a traitor and told him their friendship was over. Billy said he doesn't regret telling me, but he's scared of what Hayes might do next. I asked what he meant by that. Billy said Hayes has a temper when he feels betrayed. He said Hayes destroyed his ex Rosalie's reputation after she cheated. I asked if Hayes was going to do that to me. Billy said he didn't know, but I should be prepared. He said Hayes is already telling people a version of events where I'm the one who overreacted to something harmless, where his love tests were just his cute, quirky way of showing he cared, where I'm the villain for leaving him over nothing. So now I'm going to be the crazy ex-girlfriend who couldn't handle a little loyalty testing. Great. I'm supposed to have dinner with my family tomorrow. My mom, my dad, Flora, and her husband. I know it's going to turn into an intervention where everyone tries to convince me to give Hayes another chance. I'm not going back to him. I know that now. No matter what my family says, No matter how many texts he sends, no matter how many people tell me I'm overreacting, but I still don't know what to do about the videos, about Enrique at my work, about the fact that Hayes' entire friend group has watched footage of me without my consent for 2 years. Do I have any legal options? Can I force him to delete the videos? Can I do anything about his cousins spying on me at my job? I feel like my life has been invaded in ways I'm still discovering. Every day I think about some new interaction, some new moment, and wonder if it was real or if it was another test. Last update. So the family dinner happened. My mom spent the first 20 minutes telling me how she'd talked to Hayes on the phone. Yeah, she called him without telling me. She wanted to hear his side of things because apparently my version seemed too extreme to be true. Hayes told her the tests were just little jokes between him and his friends. Nothing serious. He said I found out and blew everything out of proportion because I was looking for an excuse to leave. He told her he loved me more than anything and he was devastated that I was throwing away our future over a misunderstanding. My mom looked at me across the table like I was a stranger. She asked why I was doing this to a man who clearly adored me. She said Hayes cried on the phone, cried, and she believed him. Flora tried to stay neutral, but I could tell she was leaning toward Mom's side. She kept saying relationships require compromise and maybe Hayes' methods were weird but his intentions were good. She asked if I'd even tried to see things from his perspective. I lost it. I told them about the videos, the 40+ recordings of me being harassed by men my boyfriend hired. I told them about Enrique being planted at my workplace. I told them Hayes had notes documenting every test, every result, every analysis of my behavior like I was a lab specimen. My dad had been quiet the whole time, but when I mentioned Enrique, he put down his fork and asked me to repeat that. I told him Hayes' cousin got a job at my workplace specifically to spy on me and report back. My dad looked at my mom and told her that wasn't a joke. That was surveillance. He asked her if she would have been okay with him hiring people to follow her around for 2 years of their marriage. Mom said that was different. They were already married. Hayes was just being careful before committing. Dad told her careful didn't involve paying strangers to sexually harass your girlfriend. He told her if any man had done that to Flora or me, he would have wanted to know. He asked why she was defending someone who treated her daughter like a suspect instead of a partner. That dinner ended with my mom crying, Flora trying to play peacemaker, and my dad telling me I was making the right decision. First time in weeks someone in my family actually said that to me. Hayes showed up at Stacy's apartment 2 days later. I don't know how he found out where I was staying, but suddenly he was just there at the door. Stacy wasn't home and I made the stupid decision to let him in because I wanted to end this face to face. He sat on Stacy's couch and started in on how I was ruining both our lives. How everyone was asking him where I was and he had to make up excuses. How his friends thought I was being ridiculous and he agreed with them. I told him I didn't care what his friends thought. The same friends who watched videos of me without my consent for 2 years. The same friends who helped him grade my loyalty like a school assignment. He told me I was making this into something it wasn't. He said couples do stuff like this all the time. He said he knew guys who checked their girlfriends' phones, who followed them, who hired actual private investigators. All he did was test my faithfulness a few times and suddenly I was acting like he committed a crime. I asked him if he really believed that. If he really thought paying dozens of people to harass me and recording it secretly was the same as checking a phone. He got frustrated and stood up. Started pacing around Stacy's living room telling me I never understood him. He said Rosalie had destroyed his ability to trust, and I was supposed to be the one who fixed that. He said he'd done everything right with me and I was punishing him for trying to protect himself. I told him I wasn't his therapist or his redemption arc. He wanted to feel powerful by knowing things about me that I didn't know he knew. He wanted to watch me perform loyalty without me knowing I was performing. He stopped pacing and stared at me. Then he said something that finally made everything clear. He told me he'd never fully trusted me. Not once in 2 years. He said even when I passed every test, there was always a voice in his head saying she could still turn on you. He said the tests weren't supposed to end because his fear would never end. He said he would have kept testing me forever, even after marriage, even after kids, because that's the only way he could feel safe. I asked him why he even wanted to be with someone he couldn't trust. He said because I was perfect, because I always passed, because watching me reject other men over and over was the only thing that made him feel like maybe someday he could believe in me. I told him that wasn't love, that was a prison, for both of us. He didn't argue. Then he asked if there was any way I would come back to him. I said no. I said I was done being his test subject. I said he needed professional help and I hoped he got it, but I wouldn't be there to watch. He left without another word. That was a week ago. I haven't heard from him since. Billy told me Hayes deleted all the videos. I don't know if that's true or if he just told Billy that. I don't know if I'll ever really know what happened to those recordings of me. They could be gone. They could be on a backup somewhere. They could still be getting passed around his friend group. I quit my job. I couldn't keep working with Enrique knowing what he'd done. My last day was Friday. I start somewhere new next month. Stacy helped me get my stuff from Hayes' apartment while he was out. My mom still thinks I made a mistake. She texts me articles about forgiveness and second chances. Flora came around eventually. She showed up at Stacy's last week with wine and told me she was sorry for not being more supportive at first. She said she talked to her husband about everything Hayes did and he was horrified. She said sometimes you don't realize how bad something is until you explain it to someone outside the situation. Dad checks on me every few days. He doesn't say much, but he doesn't have to. He was the only one who believed me right away, and that matters more than I can explain. Hayes didn't love me. He loved the idea of a girlfriend who proved herself loyal over and over. He loved having evidence that someone could pass his impossible standards. I was never his partner. I was his project. And the worst part is I would have married him never knowing the difference. That's not a relationship. That's an audition that never ends. And I'm done performing.